Hey everyone, thanks again for tuning into Sin's Workshop. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Today we are going to be talking about The Library of the Dead by titular. I think you already know what kind of review this is going to be. I wanted to love this book, I really did. It was the sci-fi pick about 2 months ago, Barnes & Noble, and I work at Barnes & Noble, so I thought, great, this is a great opportunity for me to read this book and then really, promote it and encourage sales for it, right? I'm a bookseller, it's what I do. It's just hard to promote books when I'm really not sure what the book is about, or even what it is. So I like to, read the books first. If I have the time. And I did. I had the time. It was available as an audiobook. I wasn't a fan, unfortunately. I think one of my biggest issues with the book is its title, The Library of the Dead. I love the title. It was great. I'm like, this definitely sounds like something I want to read. There's very little mention of the actual Library of the Dead in the book. It's kind of like the secret library for magicians to use, and in case you're wondering, this is a kind of an urban fantasy, takes place in modern day Edinburgh. Magic exists. In fact, our main character, Roya? I already forgot her name, and I just wrote it down in my notes, too. I guess that's another problem with the book. It's not that memorable. Our main character is a ghost talker. That's her profession. She dropped out of school. She's a ghost talker. Her grandmother is from Zimbabwe, and she knows Zimbabwean magic, and our main character has been trying to learn it, but doesn't think she has any magic in her other than being able to talk to ghosts, right? So then she stumbles across the Library of the Dead, and they test her, and whoa, she knows magic. So they let her into their kind of secret society. Otherwise, it would have been death. No one, the first rule of the library. You don't talk about the library. Basically, that's how it is. From that point forward, there is actually very little mention of the library. I think I only clearly remember one more scene where she's going through the library's contents about magic. She's like, I have magic. And she finds this book that instructs her on magic. And our main character, she's a teenager, she's cynical. She has a very analytical mind. So, and trust me, that really did come across in the tone. I'll say this, the author is able to capture the character's tone really well. She goes through it, right? And she's like, this book talks about magic in a more technical, analytical way that's easier for me to understand than my grandmother's, you have to feel it kind of mentality. And when she's able to do that and really think of it in a more scientific way versus a more, spiritual way, she's able to connect with her magic and really do it. Although she spends like 3/4 of the book trying to do magic, and in the last quarter of the book, yay, finally she does magic. It just took the entire book. Again, it's all about her trying to figure out how to do magic while she's trying to solve this mystery of, missing kids. So, quickly, the premise of this novel is she's a ghost talker. She's trying to talk to, a ghost finds her and asks, hey, my son's not on the other side. He's missing. I need you to help me find him. And our main character, she's like, that's not really what I do. I just pass on messages, So, and she's like, and also, who's going to pay me for doing this? The ghost mother doesn't relent. her grandmother even says, she's just like, you can't just do everything for profit. Sometimes you just have to do things to help. So she finally relents, and she's like, okay, I'll help you, and I'll try to find your son. In her investigation, she finds out more kids are missing, and now this has piqued her interest. She's like, okay, this is fishy. One kid missing, that's already not looking great. Many kids missing, and then turning up months, weeks later with, their bodies aged and decrepit. Now we're getting into supernatural territory, and that's her territory. And it honestly reminded me of that episode of Fringe, the old guy sucking up the youth of kids and leaving them with like white hair and wrinkles, or blind even. I think they called him the Candyman in that episode. And that's the only time I'm going to say that word right now because I'm in front of a reflective surface, and yes, I am superstitious. So sorry. But that's what that reminded me of. Immediately, I'm like, okay, someone's taking these kids' youth. So I was intrigued by that. But again, pacing of the story. You think she's getting somewhere, right, in her investigation, and it just takes so many tangents, and I think, for me, it was, considering how high the stakes were, considering how high the stakes of the story were, I was expecting more tension, I was expecting more pace. Wasn't getting it. It was not translating to me, and this is a book. I listened to it as an audiobook, and then on my lunch break, I would grab the physical book and read it, and it just was not, in either medium, the pacing was just really, really tedious for me. I was kind of mad because I wanted more of the library, right? I wanted way more of this Library of the Dead. I mean, that's what the book is titled. Library of the Dead. We are introduced to the library, where we see it for 2-3 scenes. That's it, over the course of the novel. Kids are missing. Every time I thought, okay, how much more do I have left? This much more? That was my reaction. And I think, if you ever have a reaction to a book like that when you're reading, you're just like, how much more do I have to go? If you're asking yourself that question, you're not enjoying the book, At least 75% of the time. Sometimes you're just like, oh my God, I have so many unresolved questions, and there's only this much left, But that's not the reaction I was having. I just kind of wanted the story to end. I wanted it to hurry up and get to the climax. I'm like, okay, can we hurry up? Can we speed up? Especially considering how high the stakes were. I wanted a faster pace. And I think that has to do with the overall tone and narrative of our main character because, again, she is very analytical. You don't really see a whole lot of, sorry, I have like really bad allergies today. You don't really see a lot of emotion from her at all, really. I was not able to connect to this character at all because I think the most emotion I saw from her is she cared deeply for her grandmother and her sister. Other than that, you don't really see any emotion from her. Yeah, you understand that she cares about these little kids that are missing. She's like, where are they? You hear the ferocity in her voice. But I still wasn't able to connect with her, and I wasn't able to feel like she really had emotion. And I think that's because she was a very analytical character. It just wasn't working for me. Especially when you come to the technicalities of the writing. Oh my God. Whenever our main character talks about other professions other than ghostwriting, she used, the author. Mind you, I do think it's creative, but they are such long technical terms for these professions. And I'm just like, what? You know, I like to consider myself a pretty smart person. But it just, again, I think it didn't serve the purpose of the story. Sure, it served purpose for world building, I guess, but it wasn't information that we necessarily needed at that time. It's like, okay, we get that you can't do this. We don't really need to know the why and who can do this, right? Because that's kind of how she does it. She's like, I'm a ghost talker. This is what I do. I'm not a blah, blah, blah. They do blah, blah, blah. And the thing is, she does that, I think, at least 3 times in the story, and it just wasn't working because, again, it was very technical. It was very analytical. It just was not, it wasn't great. It really did slow down the pacing of the overall narrative for me. And again, when the story had such high stakes, I was begging, basically, for a faster pace to match it, because I don't think the rising tension was captured well enough. And I think that has to do a lot with the pacing. For me, not one of my favorite books. I wanted to love it. I finished it at least. I wasn't going to not finish it. I'm just like, okay, I have to at least see how this story plays out. Like, I have to. I'm already, I'm halfway through it. At this point, I might as well finish it, right? But I was not able to connect to the story. I'm not going to read the sequel, unfortunately. But you know what? My opinion is just one out of many. There are a lot of other people who did like the book. And I'm never not going to say don't read a book, because authors do pour their heart and soul into them. Just because something's not my cup of tea doesn't mean it's not going to be your cup of tea. Just because I wasn't able to connect to it, maybe that you will. What I didn't like about it, you might like about it, And maybe a part of the issue was me going back and forth between the audiobook and the physical book. Usually that doesn't seem to be an issue for me, but maybe in this case, for this story, that is another reason why I really wasn't able to connect to it. It was just a whole lot of, I wasn't thrilled, honestly, by the writing. I wasn't, unfortunately. It just didn't connect to me. I was bored. I wanted it to just speed up. But, I encourage you to go look at good reviews of this book, because, yeah, this is not a great review. I can only honestly give this book 2 out of 5 stars. It's been a while since I've read a book I haven't liked. But this is a 2-star novel for me. So I encourage all of you, pick up the book from your local library, give it a shot. You might like it. If you did like it and you read it, leave a note in the comments. Why did you like it? What did you really love about it? That way other people can see and give this book a shot. Because I think every book does deserve a shot. I don't need to read every book. Not every book connects to me. But like I like to say, literature is just art. It is subjective to every individual. I may not like it. You might. So, on that note, please support the author by picking up their book in any form. If you have a Scribd membership, you can get the audiobook version. You can pick up the book from a local library or your local bookstore. If you love it, leave a good review, spread the news. And if you don't, I'm right there with you. I also hope that you will continue to support me by liking this video, subscribing to my channel, and sharing it with all your book-loving friends. I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and as always, happy reading.